Our tax dollars should be going to help the collective community stay healthy. We absolutely should be taking care of our seniors through Medicare. On what earth do we think it is okay to not take care of our elders?
I agree completely.
I grew up knowing that you honor your elders.
Yeah.
You listen to your elders, you respect your elders, you hold your elders in a place of reverence because they have lived this
They're a
life.
resource,
Yes.
not just members of the family. They're an invaluable
No.
resource. And it's like
Yes.
that in the Asian community too.
Yeah.
We revere our elders and we
Yes.
respect them. We learn from them. They're our
Yes.
teachers. Yeah.
And the idea that we would rather our elders die than have health care,
It's horribly wrong.
that's and the fact that this current congressional delegation is not fighting like hell about that, not just saying, oh, I think, I don't think we should be cutting Medicare. No, we need to take that way further. We should be helping our elders and their caregivers get up in arms. Why are we not giving them the resources as congressional leaders to rise up and fight for this?
I personally think that we need a nonviolent political and social revolution in order to change things, because both parties need to be shaken awake and let known that they need to change or they need to go.
I call it the graceful revolution.
Okay, all right, I like that. The
I write
graceful
about
revolution.
the graceful revolution a lot,
Okay,
actually.
I'll have to check into that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a very special guest here today, Dr. Melissa Bird.
It's nice to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Thanks for having me.
Would you like to talk about the position you're running for?
So I am running for Congress in Congressional District 4 here in Oregon.
That's a position that's currently occupied by Democrat Val Hoyle.
Correct.
Val's been taking some heat lately for some of her decisions.
Yeah.
And I'm helping with that. I've posted a bunch of videos out there about some of the shenanigans that Hoyle's been pulling. And I'm going to do another video here pretty soon about how the local media actually within her district are refusing to cover some of the things that she's doing. The news that I am reading about is coming out of Portland, Oregon, outside of her district, coming from OPB, Willamette Week, the Oregonian. The local news here, registered guards so far in the Sinclair media-owned corporations are refusing to cover her. So a lot of the local voters are experiencing a media blackout. So I'll do more about that in another video. For now, I just kind of like to chat with Melissa and kind of get an idea of who she is and what her values are and what the voters need to understand about what they have to lose or gain, whether, when they need to decide if they're going to support her or if they're going to toe the party line.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the party line.
Yes. Vote blue no matter who.
No.
I believe that attitude. First of all, I want to say that I've been to a couple of Val Hoyle's town halls, and I've noticed that her followers, almost all of the attendees, are an older generation. Probably they're not super fluent with social media and technology. They probably get a lot of their news from the corporate-based media here locally. Mm-hmm. The Register Guard, which is owned by the Gannett Corporation, they're not covering all of the shady stuff that she's being covered for in the Portland news.
I think it's worrisome, and I think also, we're at a very tense time. Like, we are at a time when we need people stepping up and fighting. And Val is not a fighter. Val Hoyle does not fight for the rest of us. And that's part of the reason I decided to run, is I was listening. I've been watching her politically. I listened to her town halls all last year, and I thought, where is the fight? Like, we are on the brink of catastrophe as a democracy, and we need to be fighting for the preservation of this democracy. And I just thought, we need fighters in Congress right now, not people who are going to do what the Democratic Party wants them to do.
So introducing Melissa now, what would you like to tell us about yourself? I've been to your website. I've seen that. I've seen your kickoff speech on YouTube. I'm going to put the links for both of those sites below in the description. What would you like? How would you like to introduce yourself?
Well, I am Dr. Melissa Bird. I am a descendant of the Shivwitz band of Paiutes from Utah, born and raised in Utah. I often joke and say that I'm okay. It's a beautiful place. I miss it sometimes. I'm a mom. I have 3 kids, 2 of whom are teenagers in public school, one of whom just graduated from college. Yay! I'm married to a disabled veteran.
Okay.
And that is one of the things that's really important to me, watching him on his journey. The last 15 years has been really hard and really disappointing on a number of levels. I'm also a social worker. I have a master's degree and a PhD in social work, and always did community organizing and activism. So I'm the former lobbyist for Planned Parenthood of Utah. So I cut my policy chops in one of the most divisive places that you could possibly be advocating for reproductive justice. Before I worked at Planned Parenthood, I actually did work on helping homeless LGBTQ plus youth in Utah, and also a very divisive issue in a very conservative state. And this was back in the early 2000s, before we were even talking about LGBTQ kids and homelessness. And so, you know, I'm a born advocate and a born fighter, and those are the things that really got me started in realizing that I can make a difference in policy. And so I have built my career for, you know, almost 3 decades. I mean, you know, I'm turning 51 this year, so it's been a long time
Happy
fighting.
birthday. I turned 51 last spring.
Nice. You know, I've spent a long time fighting, and I've always wanted to run for office, and I just, the cards aligned and everything came together, and I went, oh, I'm going to run for Congress.
All right, so you're in your kickoff speech, you mentioned that you are a champion for the working class.
Yeah.
What is that, how would you describe that? What does that mean to you?
Well, when I think about the working class, I think just about my own experience. You know, I've worked all my life since I was 14 years old, and now I'm a small business owner and what some would call a solopreneur, you know, and, you know, I've always been pro-labor. I've always, you know, it's interesting. Growing up in Utah, unions don't have any power.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a very anti-union state, actually. And being here in Oregon, I think that is a certain amount of privilege that we carry here, to have a state that's so pro-union. And you know, we are working class. My husband and I are working class. You know, of course, this week it was disclosed that Val didn't do her disclosures on her stocks. And I kind of laughed and thought, wow, what would it be like to have stocks, right? Because, you know, my husband, as a disabled veteran in particular, he retired early. He didn't make it to 20 years for a number of reasons. He got out at 14 years. And so we lost all of his Army retirement. And I don't have retirement. He doesn't have retirement. And I thought, what a privilege to be able to even have that as an option. And that's also why I decided to run, is I feel like we need voices in Congress that aren't wealthy. We need people in Congress who are working, who are living paycheck to paycheck, who understand what it's like. You know, I think I said this in my kickoff speech, to make difficult decisions at the grocery line. I can't tell you how many times over the last 2 years I'm feeding a 15-year-old boy. Like, we eat a lot of food in our house. And I can't tell you how often I've been standing there going, well, that can go and that can go, you know, and really thinking about people who are working right now. There is not an option for extra. We don't have an option for extra the way our rents are going up. I mean, I live in Corvallis. We are the most expensive rental district outside of Portland in the state. It costs a fortune to live in Corvallis. And the rest of the district, you know, the price of property is going up and up and up and up. And it's becoming impossible for those of us who are working class to be able to afford to purchase a home or purchase land or any of the other things. it's just becoming more and more difficult. So when I think of the working class, I think of me and my friends and those of us who are raising kids and working really hard to be just living our lives.
Yeah, it's out of control. Let's talk about immigration.
Let's talk about immigration.
Okay.
We need a path to citizenship, obviously.
Absolutely.
And we need to be pushing up against what's happening with ICE. And this is something I've heard a lot of people talking about, comparing this to Nazi Germany. And one of the things that I would like us to do is go back 500 years to when the colonizers came to this continent.
Okay.
Because that is actually when we began taking brown bodies and putting them into concentration camps, putting them into reservations, putting them into prisons, disappearing the women and the children and the elders. This is a legacy of the United States of America. This didn't just start this year. Colonization and the attack on brown bodies has been going on ever since people came here. And if we start to understand that history, then we can start to understand where this motivation to move people out of their communities and isolate them in prisons comes from. This is the history of this country, and we need to reckon with that. And we need to reckon with the fact that we have now given a militia permission to shoot on sight. And our congressional delegation should be fighting like hell against that. They should be raising the alarm. They should be talking about this constantly.
Yeah.
And they're not. They're not. They're not fighting against it. We need to fight against this.
What do you think goes into that scenario where the people who are supposed to be representing our best interests are staying quiet and going along with the program and conceding to what they think that they can, just doing the bare minimum and get by? Where do you think that comes from?
I think it's fear. I think it's total fear of losing power. If you have this position where you are making this congressional salary, you've got the benefits, you've got all of these things, not to mention the amount of money that Val has in particular, the amount of money, time, and energy to build up this level of power, you don't want to lose that once you've got it. And so instead of fighting for the rest of us that are sitting around here, I mean, you and I are sitting in this beautiful area. I'm looking at a beautiful farm. Like, I'm looking at this beautiful land here in Oregon, and I'm thinking, we should be fighting for each other.
Yeah. And people are just getting abducted right now. They're just rolling up. ICE is rolling up. They don't wear identifying uniforms.
Yeah.
They're just wearing masks. I mean, what kind of...
But like, we have to understand that that's what we did to Native people in this country. That's what we've always done to Native and Indigenous people. Yeah. And that's what I really want people to understand, right? Like, people with this legacy, with this heritage, with this ancestry, we know what this looks like. Our great grandparents and great great grandparents, and even sometimes our immediate family members have gone through being taken. Missing and murdered Indigenous people is a huge problem in this nation. We just go vanishing. So in so many ways, I want people to understand that what we are doing to immigrants in this country is not a rarity. We're shocked by it because now we're seeing it happen in real time, but this has been going on for literally hundreds of years. And that's how we fight it. We fight it by acknowledging that this is actually almost a standard for how we deal with people who aren't white. And I think that's important. I think it's important for us to learn our history. Very early on, so I opened my PAC on July 1st, started fundraising that day. I started calling everybody I knew. Because, I've worked in politics for a long time. I've run PACs. I know how this works, right?
Okay.
I've helped campaigns. My ex-wife is actually a campaign manager for many candidates. So I've lived in politics I've lived, eaten, and breathed politics
Okay.
basically my whole adult life. I blame my aunt, my grandma for that. But I started fundraising on day one. The minute that pack opened, I started asking for money. And I was talking to my team and I was like, y'all, I figured out why people like me don't run for Congress. Because I don't have a bunch of extra money sitting around, right? I just finished telling you a story about what it's like to go to the grocery store in my life. I don't have a lot of extra money sitting around. And quite frankly, a whole lot of my friends don't either, right? And so this is definitely a grassroots campaign that's happening $10 at a time, right? Some people have donated a huge amount of money because they can, and that's amazing. But most of our donors are giving 25, 50, $100, right? And this is what people really need to understand. The reason the people in power are in power is because they are backed by money. I don't have a lot of money, but I am raising money.
Okay.
And it is about, I am not a fool. When I worked for Planned Parenthood in Utah, one of the things that we did, because people from the progressive movement are like, we need to get the money out of politics. Okay, great. Absolutely. Do we need to get the money out of politics? Please, let's get the money out of politics. And also, that's not the game we're playing. And if we want to start playing chess instead of playing checkers, we have to help candidates like me get into office by donating to their campaigns. If you don't want candidates like me to lose a race because I couldn't come up with $2.5 million to beat Val Hoyle, then we have to donate to candidates like me. Because if I'm the face people want in office, if my voice as an advocate and a community organizer and a leader, if we want people like me in office, then we have to support people like me with our money. And I don't love that. But I'm playing chess. I know that I am a better candidate than Val Hoyle. I know that. I know that I am really, really good at sitting in a room with people who do not agree with me, who do not like me for a million reasons. Because I'm bisexual, because I'm Native, because I'm a woman, because I'm a feminist, because I'm a mom, because I advocate for people with disabilities. There's a million reasons people don't like me.
Okay.
But I can sit in a room with those people and have a generous and graceful conversation with them about why it's important to me that we think really deliberately about the policies that we're passing. Because the policies that are passing at Congress right now, they're impacting everybody. It doesn't matter where you come from politically. And if we don't start standing up against those policies, our democracy is going to continue to crumble. And that means we have to give me money.
Okay. So while we're on the subject, I'll put a link in the description also, but how can people support you?
The best way for people to support me is to go to my website, melissabirdforcongress.com. And the donate button is everywhere.
Okay.
So you can donate through my website. The other really great way, if you don't have, 10 or 20 bucks to spare, the other great way to support me is to make sure you're following me on Facebook and Instagram. Instagram in particular, I can't go live on Instagram without 1,000 followers.
Okay.
And I'm almost there, like a fifth of the way there.
Okay.
But to follow me, because I'm on TikTok and Blue Sky, but I'm really trying to reach as many people as possible through Facebook and Instagram, and also through my website. And I have a YouTube channel too. So a lot of the videos that I'm doing, my events will always be up on YouTube. And so those are the ways to really support this campaign. And then eventually there will be opportunities to volunteer. And
so, yeah, just check the description for all of those social media links and ways to support this movement. Jimmy Kimmel's show, he's recently been turned off by the FCC over some things that he said about Charlie Kirk.
Jimmy Kimmel gets booted for speaking his voice and giving a measured and frankly, realistic comment about Charlie Kirk and what's going on with that. Stephen Colbert has been shut down. But I actually want to talk about Karen Attiah.
Okay.
Karen Attiah was the only Black opinion writer at the Washington Post. She also was fired for her views. But no one is talking about her.
Okay.
And why is no one talking about her, do you suppose, James? I'm going to guess because she's black,
Okay.
because she's a woman,
Okay.
and because we're not focused on the fact that many people are actually being shut down for their opposition to this administration and the decisions that this administration is making. And so if you're not following her story, I very much encourage you to do so, because now we don't have that voice at the Washington Post. And the Washington Post isn't just a national paper, it's a local paper. It is the news of DC.
Okay.
And to not have that voice as a representative, I mean, DC is a majority black space. And
Okay.
to not have that voice at that paper anymore is going to be detrimental to the local politics. And that's what's really important. What happened to Jimmy Kimmel is a symptom of a bigger problem.
Okay.
We are starting to infringe on people's First Amendment rights, and that is not okay. We should all be in an uproar about that. And I appreciate the calls to boycott Disney. I think that's really important, just like we did with Target. Like, I think the boycotts are really important. But I think we also need to pay attention to just how many people have been fired to speaking out against this administration.
It makes me wonder, there was the Democratic, were they senators? There were members of Congress that had a home invasion, and they were murdered
Yes.
in cold blood by a conservative, and it didn't get near the uproar.
No.
All of the school shootings,
Literally an elected official. Like,
Yes.
someone who was elected to Congress is not getting the same level of coverage and conversation.
didn't get the outrage. Children getting shot, shooting victims at school shootings. There isn't near the uproar from the conservatives that there is with the Charlie Kirk killing.
I'm really glad you brought up the school shooting thing, because I want to talk about that for a
Okay.
minute. So one of the things that happens every year in my house, and I know many other people's houses, is when summer comes, we all take a big deep breath collectively, because we know that our kids aren't having to do active shooter drills every month. They're not having to be afraid that someone's going to bring a gun to their school. It's interesting the level of pressure that alleviates from our children when they're home for the summer that immediately starts when they know they're going back to school.
Wow.
That is not how I grew up. We had earthquake drills,
Okay.
right? We didn't have these moments that our children have where they are thinking constantly about, what will I do if someone comes in with a gun and starts shooting? That is on their minds all the time.
That's a new problem. Yeah, I didn't
And
do
that's
that.
just not just my kids,
Yeah.
that's all kids. And then you add on to that the fact that we still do not have common sense gun legislation. And I come from a state where literally you could hand somebody a gun, no problem. That's actually how I got my gun, is someone handed it to me as a gift.
Really?
Yes. And so I just did a post about this on my social media about guns and the Second Amendment and mental health, because one of the other things that I really want people to know about me, and I'm very transparent about it, I'm a gun owner. My husband is a gun owner. I mean, my husband's an artillery man from the Army. Of course we have
Okay.
guns.
All right.
And also, we believe in background checks. We believe in waiting periods. We believe that people need to be responsible gun owners with classes and a background in safety, so that they understand that they are holding something in their hands that can do harm to other people. And we have to address the mental health crisis. I'm a social worker. Just because I didn't practice clinical social work for a long time doesn't mean that I don't understand mental health. I did work in mental health for a little while. I worked in the foster care system for a long time in child welfare. And I think it's really important for us to, while we are thinking about what we do about the Second Amendment and guns, we really need to think about suicide prevention and mental health issues. And my father committed suicide when I was a kid. This is very important to me. It's one of the foundational parts of my life that turned me into an advocate.
Okay.
As a young person, advocating for prevention services, advocating for people who have been left behind, who are survivors. we have a crisis in this nation. The fact that people are still, I can't believe, my dad died in 1980, so it's been 45 years this year. I can't believe that in all that time, we haven't figured out how to help people. And in fact, it's getting worse, especially since COVID.
Okay. You think
COVID
COVID was
really
a
did a number
catalyst?
on us. It really did a number on us.
I grew up with guns. I'm left of probably the establishment Democratic Party, and I have guns. I grew up with guns. We had chickens. Hunting and fishing. I grew
Yeah,
up,
yeah, I did too.
and it's amazing how you have to go through so much more effort to get your driver's
Yeah,
license. And people don't bat an eye at that. You know, if you want to learn how to drive, you have to demonstrate that you are capable. You know, you understand the basic
because
rules.
that thing can kill other people.
Exactly.
A
Absolutely.
car can kill other people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to demonstrate proficiency in order to get your learning permit first. You have to go, you have to learn how to operate a vehicle
Yeah.
and demonstrate you understand the laws. So yeah, it boggles my mind too that we have all of these shootings and people are so afraid of it's one extreme or the other. You know, they're coming for my guns if any kind of reform is passed.
But we do have to, we have got to really think about the policies that we are enacting and advocating for. Are we reacting or are we being proactive? And one of the things I'm noticing about Congress, especially since I started my political career back in 2003-ish, is that in Congress, over time, it used to be that we were not as reactive. We were proactive. We were introducing legislation that helped our communities. There was consensus. There was consensus building. There was moving across the aisle. Advocates on the right were doing, or in the Republican Party, I should say, were doing just as much advocacy as Democrats were. It was a different game 25 years ago. Now, things have become so polarized.
Yeah.
And I still believe that if we start to introduce policies, not from a space of reaction, but from a space of being proactive,
Okay.
that there are ways for us to have those conversations and not be screaming at each other all the time.
So, what is your strategy as far as reaching across the aisle? What are some things that you want some of your potential more conservative constituents to know about you?
That's a great question. Thanks for asking that. Hi, everybody. Hi, all y'all in the middle and maybe even towards the right a little bit. Here's what I want people to know. One of the ways I used to work, I still work this way, honestly, is to remember that we all put our pants on one leg at a time. We are all human beings. We are all here in this mess of a world trying to figure out how to take care of ourselves and the people that we love. And we might not always agree ideologically. And also, I miss the moments of debate. My family was a big political family.
Okay.
We did not shy away from talking politics at the dinner table. We were not afraid to disagree with each other. And that's what I want voters to know. I want voters to know that even if we don't agree 100% on 100% of the things, which I think is a big problem right now, it doesn't mean that I'm not an effective leader just because I don't agree with you about things. What's important for us to remember is that, there's that old saying, you don't want to know how laws and sausages are made. Well, I have seen how laws are made, and it can be brutal. And also, it's a really beautiful process. The process of amendments and changes and drafting and the legalities of how we make law, I actually find to be really beautiful. So for those of you who may not think, well, I don't really ideologically I don't think like her, that's okay. That we're not supposed to all be in this homogenous way of thinking. That's how we're getting these polarized positions. Because we think we have to all agree on everything, and we don't. I don't want to agree with everybody on everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I live in a household with 5 people. Like, I don't want to agree with all of them. And I want them to learn how to have conversations that make them uncomfortable. We're supposed to be uncomfortable. We're people.
Yes.
We're humaning. We don't know what we're doing here.
Yeah.
We're all just having this day-to-day existence where our life experiences are informing the way we see the world. And what I want people to remember is that we're here to care for each other. We're here to connect with each other. We are not here to be cruel to each other. And that's what I want people to know about me is I welcome and invite a difference of opinion. And that doesn't mean that I won't fight like hell for the things that I believe in. Ironically, most of the things that I believe in are pretty remarkably homogenous across the board. We've just been trained to believe that when I tell you I'm going to fight for reproductive justice, people think, oh, that makes you a social justice warrior. And that's not
a
it.
bad thing.
No, it's not a bad
I'm
thing.
a social justice warrior.
I know
I'm a huge
it's not a
snowflake,
bad
too.
it's not a bad thing. But we've been trained to believe that it is. And I think
Yeah.
that's the problem.
Yeah.
And I've seen what happens politically in policy at a congressional and a state level, and even at a county and a city level, when we put those differences aside and think about what's in the best interest of the community. And that's why I was so successful when I was a lobbyist, because I could help people put that aside.
Okay.
So that we could talk about those things.
So one example that you're talking about that would benefit everybody regardless, just about everybody except for those with big money, is looking out for the workers.
Looking out for the workers. Healthcare?
Yes. Yes. Healthcare.
Housing?
Housing.
Housing is a human right.
Okay.
It's literally been
Yes.
laid out in the UN Declaration of Human Rights. Housing is a human right. I have lived abroad. I actually went to Russia on exchange when I was in
Really?
high school.
Okay.
Yeah, both while it was still a communist country. I've lived in places in Europe. I've lived all over. I've lived in Alaska. I went to college in Alaska.
Okay.
I've lived all over. And what we are doing to our homeless people is a tragedy. The way we judge them and treat them and look at them. My husband and I have a rule. My husband was a homeless teen. My husband and I have a rule that when you meet a homeless person, you say hello, you introduce yourself, you ask them their name. And boy, does that completely change the way you interact with people. And, you know, our healthcare system is an abomination. Corporations should not be running our healthcare system. And, you know, our family was personally affected by that when the Corvallis Clinic was bought out by United Healthcare. Not only did my kids lose their pediatrician, but my daughter tried to go there to the clinic on an emergency. She's on Medicaid because she was a student.
Oh.
And they wouldn't see her. They weren't taking any new Medicaid patients after United Healthcare took over. Medicaid is a phenomenal program.
Okay.
The prevention alone keeps people healthy.
Okay.
And because you can take your kids to the pediatrician every year for their well child visit. Mm-hmm. And our tax dollars should be going to help the collective community stay healthy. We absolutely should be taking care of our seniors through Medicare. On what earth do we think it is okay to not take care of our elders? I grew up knowing that you honor your elders. You listen to your elders. You respect your elders. You hold your elders in a place of reverence because they have lived this life.
They're a resource, not just
Yes.
not just members of the family. They're an invaluable resource. And it's like that. It's like that in the Asian community too.
Yeah.
We revere our elders and we respect them. We learn from them. They're our teachers. Yeah.
And the idea that we would rather our elders die than have health care?
It's horribly wrong.
And the fact that this current congressional delegation is not fighting like hell about that, not just saying, oh, I think, you know, I don't think we should be cutting Medicare. No, we need to take that way further. We should be helping our elders and their caregivers get up in arms. Why are we not giving them the resources as congressional leaders to rise up and fight for this?
I personally think that we need a nonviolent political and social revolution in order to change things, because both parties need to be shaken awake and let known that they need to change or they need to go.
I call it the graceful revolution.
Okay, all right, I like that. The
I write
graceful
about the
revolution.
graceful revolution a lot,
Okay,
actually.
I'll have to check into that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what does that consist of? What does that look like? This uprising.
Well, to me, I feel like it is helping people understand the tools that impact our capacity to make a difference. So I can give you an example from my time when I was in Utah. There was a bill that was going to pass that would have, it was an anti-abortion bill, and it would have made
Okay.
it so you couldn't get a second trimester abortion. And I had a woman call my office, and her body would actually reject her babies,
Oh,
but not until after the first trimester.
okay.
And so she had had multiple miscarriages, and also many experiences of having to get a procedure like a DNC procedure to remove her baby. And she was devastated because all she wanted was a big family. You know, in Utah, in the LDS culture, they have big families with lots of kids, and typically. And she was devastated about it. But that law would have made it so that she couldn't get the health care that she needed. And she didn't consider herself pro-choice in the least.
Okay.
And we worked together. I gave her the tools to learn how to effectively communicate with her elected officials. And we killed the bill.
Really?
And I killed a lot of anti-abortion legislation when I was in Utah. A lot. And then we ended up engaging in some really beautiful proactive legislation to improve pregnancy outcomes for women.
Okay.
So, and again, it's not this all or nothing game. I think that policy is a both and scenario. And I think we are getting more and more entrenched in this either or. If you're not with us, you're against us.
Yeah.
But I don't believe that to be true, because we're still people. And so, and we still have to coexist on this planet together.
Yes.
We still have to look at our resources together and go, okay, how can we come together to honor this creation, to honor this land, to honor ourselves as human beings? And I think that's really important in policy as well. The best part of a citizen legislature is that it's made up of actual citizens.
Yes.
Cow farmers, nurses, doctors, stay-at-home moms, retired business people. Like we should be expecting an elected official to not be a professional elected official.
I like that. So in terms of talking about District 4, how do we be more specific about who we're looking to represent?
The thing I love about District 4 is whenever I tell anybody that it goes from the border of California all the way up the coast to the top of Lincoln County, and then Benton and Lane County, they go, whoa, that's such a big district.
Big area.
But the thing I love about this district is that it's rural. I grew up in a rural area. I love the rurality of District 4. I think the depth and breadth of the people in this district is really beautiful. There's a lot of tribal nations in this district. There's 5 tribal nations in this district. There's agriculture. There's the coast. There's the tourist industry. There's the fishing industry. There's the universities in Eugene and Corvallis. This is a vibrant district with a diverse multiplicity of humanity. This is where our food comes from. This is where our fish comes from. This is where people go to this coast to recreate. We're on this side of the Cascades. We're the gateway to places. And I think people really need to recognize that, is that this district, you know, I've heard Val refer to it as a purple district, and that's why she's so careful.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to give colors to the district. I think we need to recognize that the people of this district deserve to be heard and witnessed and seen. And that's why I'm traveling up and down the coast. Most of the events I've held haven't been in Eugene or Corvallis. I've been going to
okay.
Waldport and Yachats and Newport.
Okay.
I'm going to be traveling up and down the coast over the next 3 months. October, November, December. I'm just going to be traveling up and down the coast. I'm going to be going into, you know, Lane County and all the other parts of the district. But I want to hear what people are experiencing down in Bannon.
Yeah.
I want to know what people are experiencing in Coos County and Douglas County and Curry County, because their needs should not be ignored by this district.
Yeah.
And I mean, I want to talk to people in Lincoln City. Like, what's going on in your world?
Okay.
What's happening in you know, in CT Calusi and Siletz and all the, you know, with Coke Hill and all of these other places? Like, why are we not talking to each other? Why are we not talking to each other?
Let's talk about Christian faith.
Let's talk about religion.
Yes.
Shall we?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you a little story.
Okay.
So my daughter really wanted to go to church. And I said, oh, no, you're not going to catch me dead in a church. No. Because I grew up in Utah as a non-LDS person.
Okay.
It was really difficult. And, you know, as a bisexual person, as a native mixed race person, that was really hard. It was really difficult and very painful and very harmful. And so my daughter says, I want to go to church. So I call my friends who are this beautiful gay couple in Southern California,
okay,
who I know are Episcopals. And I was like, I need you to find me a church because I don't know how. And I need to go to an LGBTQ plus affirming feminist church. And I don't even know how to look for one. And so my friend Mark called all the Episcopal churches from Eugene to Salem.
Oh, wow.
And he called me back and he said, you're not going to believe it, but I think your church is in Corvallis, just down the street from you. And I was like, no, forget about it. I'm not going to church. And he said, you should go on Sunday. And I said, it's Easter Sunday. I'm not going to church on a high holiday. You've lost your mind. And it took me about 2 more months to get up the guts.
Okay.
Like we were taught, Katie's like, I want to go to church. I want to go to church. I want to go to church. And I was like, no. And finally I got up the courage and we all went together and we got all dressed up in our Sunday best, because you can take the girl out of Utah, but you can't take the Utah out of the girl. And we walked in and we were welcomed by this beautiful and amazing woman, Phyllis. She's amazing. And she just started asking us questions about us, and I'm shaking.
Okay.
James, I was
You're nervous?
shaking.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to get set on fire the minute I walked in the sanctuary. I'm like, you know, I'm this pagan kid who's like, who's been just hurt and hurt and hurt by the Christian church so much. And I literally, my husband was holding my hand. He's like, are you okay? I was like, I don't think so, but let's go. Let's do this. And we walked in and we sat down and I started sobbing. And every Sunday for 3 months, I sat there and cried. And I don't know what happened, James. My husband was like, let's stay home. And I'm like, no, we're going to church.
Okay.
I don't understand what happened.
Okay.
All I know is that I took a big, deep breath and I felt loved.
Oh.
And it makes me cry.
I think that's all most of us want.
I felt the love of God.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, all that messaging that I had received about not being worthy, not being lovable, not being enough, being in the wrong body, it started to go away. And nobody was more surprised than me that happened. And that doesn't happen to everybody, and I know that. But for me, the healing that came from that spiritual experience was bananas. And then my priest, so I get baptized, crazy. Then my priest is like, I want you to start preaching. And I was like,
Wow.
no. You don't want me on the pulpit. Look at me. I am not getting up there. And he's like, I think you should. I think you have a lot to say. And I was like, no. And he's like, we need your voice. And I was like, oh, damn it. Okay. So I write out this sermon, and I'm terrified.
Okay.
Again, I write out this sermon, and I thought, what is happening to me? Like, how am I being chosen for this role in the world? And I cried, like I couldn't get through it without crying. I had to write the whole thing out because I was afraid of swearing. Like, I'm so afraid. I'm still, to this day, I've been preaching for like 6 years, and I'm still terrified I'm going to get up on the pulpit and drop the F-bomb. That's just real life, people. But what has happened since I found the Episcopal Church is nothing short of a miracle as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
And I believe that we need more Christians in Congress that aren't vilifying, diminishing, criticizing, demoralizing, dehumanizing our fellow human being. The fact that people are hiding behind the cross to do what they're doing to our trans relatives, to do what they're doing to our immigrants, to do what they're doing to women, to our children, to our elders. That's not what Jesus said.
No, it's not.
That is not what Jesus said.
No, he wasn't about that at all. The opposite.
And in fact, my favorite coffee mug has Jesus's picture on it, and it says, "That's not what I meant." And I very much look forward to drinking out of that mug in Congress.
Okay, great. Let's do it. Let's do it. There's a lot of progressive Christian churches here in Eugene.
Yeah, I've
There's
preached
a lot.
at the one in Springfield.
Have you?
At the
Really?
at the Episcopal Church. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's
See,
a great
there you
church.
go for,
It's a great
Eugene.
church. You should go. It's amazing.
For the Eugene viewers.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Amazing story.
That's how I made it into the Christian church. It's weird. I don't understand.
That's really what love should be about. And it's weird how scripture has been contorted, not just in Christianity, multiple religions take scripture out of context and they contort it and twist it and use it to justify just atrocious acts. And it has nothing to do with righteousness, nothing to do with being enlightened. It's bizarre.
It's very strange. And no, I didn't understand until I started reading the Bible.
You know Bo,
Yeah.
who's also running.
Yeah.
I posted his kickoff speech,
Yeah.
and then we have somebody from the Green Party. I'm seeing people come up, rising up and contributing and taking on these leadership roles.
Yeah.
It makes me hopeful because
It makes me hopeful too, because Val Hoyle is not representing the entirety of the people of this district. And we need fighters. We need people to be standing up and saying, not today.
this is my opinion, my experience that I had. Val Hoyle has sold out. She has sold us out. She has sold Oregon workers out. And it's not just me. It's been multiple people that I know of. And the media blackout locally is I'm amazed by it. You got to
the
go to
workers
Portland.
need to revolt. You
We
all
do.
that are in your unions,
Yes.
you need to revolt.
Yes, we need to
We need to
install
stand up.
somebody to represent us
Yeah.
that actually will represent the worker, and instead of just saying that and then betraying us.
Yeah.
For their own income, for their own advancement.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm grateful. I'm hopeful, and however this turns out, I want everybody involved. More idealistic people stepping up. We need to create this revolution. We need to get more people to come up and represent us.
Yeah.
So this has been my interview. This is my first time meeting Dr. Melissa Bird, and I am very hopeful. I'm optimistic, and please thank and follow Melissa on her social media. I'll leave all the links in my description below. Thank you for coming out and speaking with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And for those of you who live in District 4, I just really want to encourage you to get to know the people who are running in this primary. If you are not a registered Democrat, I encourage you to register as a Democrat because we still have a closed primary system here in Oregon. So if you are not a registered Democrat and you're interested in this race and this representation here in this district, I highly recommend that you do that so that you can vote in the primary. Yes, there are a couple of us running in the Democratic primary, and I think it's really important that you get to know your candidates. I am an open book, so for sure, follow me on socials and reach out. You know, you can email the campaign anytime you want. All of my policy issues are online, and you know, I just really encourage you to really be thinking hard about who you want representing you in Congress. And I appreciate your vote and your time. And James, thank you so much for this opportunity. It's been wonderful
Glad
to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you.